Hey guys, so welcome back to my channels. For anyone that doesn't know, my name's Roel Mahiko. I've been in direct sales for the past decade, and since 2020, I've generated my clients £438.4 million over the course of 4 years since COVID. I run a direct sales organization, I consult numerous businesses, and I turn sales reps into business owners. I'm here with
Raheem Farhouni, webinar agency owner, organic marketer. Today I'm gonna ask a lot of questions to my man here because I'm super interested in door-to-door. I don't know a lot of people that do that. So I'm curious to find out as many things as I can that I can maybe implement for myself as well. And we have the one and only, the only in the world.
The only driver in the world. Google it. I also help people in the online space, specifically 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs, with personal branding and content creation. Roll is one of my clients. And I also have my own community, Leverage Creators, where I help people turn their passion into profit and tap into the career economy. Today, we're going to ask a bunch of questions to Roll because I'm in the online space. You're in the online space. We've seen our respective success within our industries. And the funny thing is, we all came from a door-to-door background, which is something I just found out today. I didn't know you were in as well. So
True that.
I'm excited.
everyone comes from door to door.
Everyone that kills it comes from door to door. And there's actually that statistic where 70% of self-made millionaires all come from a sales background, and a larger percentage of the people out of that 70% of self-made millionaires have a door-to-door background.
If you guys want to connect with these guys, I'm going to have their links in my YouTube page as well. So we'll go from there.
Let's get it.
Here's the thing, and for me as well, this is what I was thinking about. It's like, okay, I'm gonna do the lifestyle stuff, I'm gonna do personal branding and stuff, but what is the goal? Like, what am I trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
Because my clients don't really care about the lifestyle stuff.
Yeah.
So am I doing it just for like the ego trip?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I need to be honest with myself. Or am I trying to attract kind of a lower ticket audience?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm in my mind. Like, is it worth it to go and create this whole flashy personal brand?
Sure.
Or should I just stick with the boring stuff
Yeah.
that my audience is actually interested in? So
it's just, you're so right. It depends on where you want you to take your business. So initially, when I first started doing the personal branding, it was mainly to attract more people into my business.
yeah,
Because, like we spoke about already before filming this,
yeah,
the perception of door-to-door sales
yeah.
is not good. It's not good.
It's negative. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
everyone says like I don't want to do it. It's like it's really tough. It's really hard. It's like not as leverage or X, Y, and Z.
I was one of them.
Huh?
I was one of them, yeah.
Same for me.
However, people don't have. I believe they don't have the right expectation of what it is and what you can actually learn from it and the type of person that you can be by the end of it. So the reason why I wanted to do the personal branding was just to show people what you could actually achieve and the type of person you can become. And I want to film everything from how to actually set up a door-to-door business.
I love it. So what you're really doing is you're changing the narrative.
Yeah.
You're changing the way people think about it, and that
The
way-
landscape of
exactly,
the business.
Exactly. I mean, it's inspiring because I did see a couple of. You might know there's this guy that's selling. He's cleaning windows or something, and he goes door to door and sell that, and it's really interesting to see if what the objection is, how he can handle that. So I do love that type of content. But why do you think the narrative around door to door is so negative? What do you
Because
think the main issue is?
it's very difficult and the wrong type of people get recruited into it.
What do you define as the wrong type of people that are just doing it for the money or something?
I think the people that don't know exactly what it is until they walk in. Even myself, when I first started in direct sales, I got catfished into the business. So it was advertised as a marketing agency, and I thought marketing was online.
Yeah.
But when I got there, it was direct marketing, which was stopping people in the street.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, oh, that wasn't what I expected. But I was luckily, open-minded enough to see past the situation that I was in, but I saw the type of skills that you could learn. And that's all I really wanted. I just wanted to learn skills. Yeah.
That's the best way to get into it. So do you feel there are two ways? This is also with the online space, appointment setters, closers. Do you feel commission only motivates a person more, or should there be a base? But then you have a chance to kind of get lazy because I get a base anyways.
Yeah, sure. I have only ever worked in commission only.
Commission only?
I've never ever worked the base.
Nice.
Ever.
Nice.
Ever. And the times where I have worked on the base, okay, I think I started in sales when I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
So my prior experience to sales
Yeah.
was like, I don't know, cafe jobs and hospitality jobs.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think my first job was chopping carrots when I was like 15 years old. Okay, as a kitchen porter for a pub.
Yeah.
And I actually got fired from all of those
Oh,
jobs.
shit.
So I'm the worst employee.
Wow.
I'm the worst employee. But when I got into commission, okay, when prior to starting door to door,
Yeah.
I was buying and selling old records, classical music and jazz,
Yeah.
and I was selling it online. I was working I was getting up at like 7 in the morning, starting work at like 7:30. I'd finish at 9 p.m. and no one was telling me to do that.
Yeah.
But the reason why I was motivated is because I knew that if I worked, I got more money.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be a type of person
Exactly.
to work on commission only.
Yeah.
And commission only really works for some people. Some people, they get really frazzled and they get, the reason why some people can't work on commission only is because they can't handle pressure.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing.
No.
Okay. It's like some people, you just have to understand what people are more comfortable in and what type of environment people can grow in and perform at.
Interesting. I feel indeed that also you need to, it's like you said, it's all mindset. If you're going in and just thinking of it as a job,
Yeah.
then you're going to think more about that security aspect of it, and that, with commission only, that's going to be risky if you don't have all the skills. You're just really looking for a job. But if you're going at it from like an entrepreneur mindset, like this is my thing, then like the sky's the limit to grow.
Yeah.
So indeed, it's that mindset, man.
It's all depending on, again, how they were raised or what influences they have around them.
Yeah.
For example, I've just recruited one of my best friend's little brother.
Oh, nice.
He's just started in our office.
Nice.
Okay, and he's when all of them when they were all growing up. Okay, there's 4 of them. They're all brothers.
Yeah.
And as soon as they turned 13,
Yeah.
their parents gave them the book Rich Dad Poor Dad
Good stuff.
at 13 years old.
Yeah, perfect.
So at 13 years old, every single one of them had to read the book. For their birthday, they all had to read the book
Yeah.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. So he just started in one of our sales offices, and we asked him, "Do you want to go on a salary or do you want to go on commission only?" And he goes, "I don't even want to know about the salary. What's the commission?"
Yeah.
But the reason why he thinks that way is because he's read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, it's environment. That's so good. I think it's crazy that and that's a whole conversation on its own. But that should be like on schools and stuff as well. We need to get at least one of those books to kind of at least open your thought of, all right, this is what's possible as well.
Definitely. I think how everyone does like work experience when they're, I don't know, 13 or 14. Did you ever do work experience?
Yeah. No.
They should just do door-to-door sales.
I reckon they shouldn't.
Honestly, if schools,
It's crazy.
if schools, okay, pushed kids to do door-to-door sales for a
It's gonna
summer,
make them resilient.
Yeah.
do you know how hardcore the whole economy would be?
Crazy.
That would be mad.
Yeah.
But they're not doing it for a reason.
Yeah, of course,
No.
of course.
I actually have a question that came up. So you mentioned that they should get people, reading Rich Dad Poor Dad
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But why do you think that they don't? That's an open question for both of you guys, because, I know my answer. I'll let you guys go first.
Interesting. I only see the benefit of it, so I don't really know what's the harm in at least orientating, right? At least getting exposed to it once, and then if you want to have nothing to do with it, that's fine, but at least you know about it.
I think the schooling system is different in the Netherlands though, instead of here.
It's probably different, but we don't have that. They don't push that narrative
Yeah.
as well. Like,
Is it in the Netherlands or is it somewhere else where kids basically, as soon as they find out what their strengths are, they hone into those strengths?
That's probably like Scandinavian countries.
Yeah, is it
Like
not the
Norway
Netherlands?
or something.
Yeah, it might be Norway or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
they hone into their strengths and they literally just use all the subjects, okay, that they have. It's just based on the kids' strengths. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
We have that, but it's like later down the road,
Yeah.
really specialized. And it takes a really long time.
Yeah, sure.
Really long time.
Sure.
Wow.
I know the reason why here is because, again, people, if people all ran their own businesses and they were all doing really well, like, and the bigger picture, everyone, it would seem like it's a good deal, right?
Yeah.
However, obviously some companies want to monopolize, and it's all greed, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some people want to dominate the space, or they want to make more money from having people work for them. Do you know what I mean?
So you need to have equilibrium in the
Yeah.
market, and if everyone started a business like you said, then who would you sell to, right? And I think it's actually good that you stumble across it when your time comes. For example, your friend, his whole like family, they all come across the book when they're 13. Their parents like tell them to read it, whereas you had to stumble across entrepreneurship. I assume same with you, and I did as well. And sometimes you either act out of inspiration or desperation. For me, it was desperation, because I was like, okay, I'm broke, I need to make money. So that made me think outside the box, and not everyone's wired the same.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted to ask both of you guys, why do you think you guys are wired differently and, you know, went down the entrepreneurship route? I'm curious.
I like the way how you phrased it. Was inspiration or desperation? I think it all started for me as well with desperation, and through that I got really inspired of what's possible. And I think going back to your previous question as well, it's healthy to have that gap, because the easier something is to obtain, the less valuable it becomes, right? So the fact that it's hard makes it that much more valuable, or else it just wouldn't work, it wouldn't be valuable. But for me, it was desperation, and through that, I got inspired and saw what's possible. So I don't know how it's a feeling.
Yeah, I used to have a similar quote as well. It wasn't either inspiration or desperation. I used to say, or I still say, you're either running towards something or you're running away from something. You know, and when I first started in sales or entrepreneurship, I wouldn't say that I was running away from something, but I wanted to run towards something that was greater.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt like there was a lot of things that I had to get better at as a person, you know, and in order for me to get the skills, okay, I had to put myself in a challenging environment. And I worked in I had work experience working in a corporate 9 to 5, okay, and I didn't like it. I didn't feel like I was fulfilled. I worked, as I said, every other job that I've had prior to this, I didn't do well at, and the reason why is because I felt like people were like telling me what to do instead of like showing me what to do. And in entrepreneurship, people like bring each other up, don't they? Does that make sense? If they see, I don't know, whenever you encounter or meet someone who's like talented
Yeah.
or like driven, you can feel the energy, can't you?
100%.
And you're like, I don't know what kind of value I can give to this person. However, I'm going to see what kind of leg up I can give them.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about entrepreneurship, man. Some people that do the best in entrepreneurship, they just don't have ego, man. They're just always trying to carry and help people to get to, as long as they have the right time, they're willing to give people the time to get them to the next stage. And that's what I loved about entrepreneurship in the beginning.
It's so true. It's so true. I heard someone say once that at the top they collaborate and at the bottom they compete. So a lot of people that like are not getting that breakthrough, they're oftentimes like very selfishly trying to see what can I get out of it, what can I get out of this. And like if you go higher up, they're all about what can I give to this person. And that's exactly what you said right there. So, that's the thing. That's the thing. I wanted to ask one more thing about door to door, because I think it's pretty interesting. You see, we have in the Netherlands we have this too, and it has, like you said, kind of a bad. They're not
Negative
always too
connotation.
long, you know, because you're kind of interrupting someone's day or something like that. On the street, right? You have like you're standing with like a pamphlet or something, and you see people take this huge detour. Now, first, from an emotional standpoint, how does that make you feel? Or do you just shut off emotions?
Sure.
I don't care.
So the psychology, the mentality that you need to adapt when you do any form of door-to-door sales or in-person sales, or you're in a high street and you're stopping people on the street, is you only speak to people that want to speak to you. Okay? And the way that I look at it is, my time in a day is very precious. And everyone says that you have to have an amazing attitude. Okay. However, initially when you first start in sales, you don't have that solid bulletproof mentality in the beginning.
No.
So you have to protect your energy.
Mm.
So if I see someone, I'll say hi to everyone.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I'm trying to stop you.
No.
Okay, I'll just say hello to you,
Yeah.
engage your interest.
Yeah.
Now, if I can see that they're interested to talk to me,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll continue the conversation. If I can see that they're not interested, you don't talk to them. And the reason why is because the more no's you get, the more wavered you're going to become.
Mm.
Okay, so it's all about being able to read buying and non-buying signs. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And also with like objection handling when you're doing in-person sales,
Mm.
the way that I look at it is like, have you ever been in a relationship before?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you ever broken up with someone?
Yeah.
Okay. Have they ever broken up with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Neither feels good. Okay. However, you would definitely be rather the person dumping instead of
Yeah.
being dumped,
Yeah.
even though it doesn't feel good. Okay.
Yeah.
So the way that I look at an interaction when I'm doing in-person sales is I'm constantly dumping people because I don't want to be dumped. So my ability to read people's body language, my ability to read people's human behavior and understand where the conversation is going to go,
Yeah.
okay, based on your ability to read people,
Yeah.
the best salespeople in-person sales are the best people at reading the conversation.
Wow. I think that's one of the most valuable skills in general because in marketing for us, we go after a specific target audience.
Yeah.
I think on the street, there's only so many things you can do when the traffic comes in. You don't know who they are, you don't know what their interests are. It's literally like you said, just that gauge.
Yeah.
And if they look back and they smile or something, that's the only thing you got.
Yeah. Initially.
Yeah,
Initially.
for sure. Initially.
So like you've got about 7 to 10 seconds to make a really good first impression.
Yeah.
That's it. Your first impression gives you time.
Yeah.
Okay. People don't buy the product. So 80% of what people buy is you initially.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they buy the product.
Mm.
However, the product that we always sell, especially on in person, face to face, has to be a better product than what's online.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It has to be a better deal with
Yeah.
us than it is online.
Yeah.
So we always know that whatever product we're selling, if we're doing in person, is the best product in the market. And if it's not the best product in the market, and we don't believe that it will add value to that customer, we just don't sell to that customer. It's just a waste of time.
Wow. Yeah. Well, there's also a lot of trust issues, I'd say, from the consumer coming in.
Yeah.
Right? You're just a guy on the street.
Totally.
Maybe you don't know the company.
Of course.
So you might have a better product, but how do you deal with that gap of trust?
Yeah, sure. Credibility comes from your ability to explain the product. Okay. And also, in addition to that, like, there's a lot of things that you have to have now in order to be able to sell on the street. Okay. Uniform, like how your pop-up event is where it's located, what type of advertisement you have.
Yeah.
If you're doing door-to-door, okay, do you have a license to be able to do it?
Yeah.
Like the iPad, all of these things, like, and all of the questions. And before somebody even signs up, they have to be qualified as well.
So just from a visual standpoint,
Yeah.
you need to look the part.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that's good. Because I'm trying to translate this. The way I see it is the people on the street are, for me, people scrolling on the feed. And then you're the ad. I'm the ad online. So you're right. The first 7 to 17 seconds you said is really right. Can I stop the scroll? Can I stop someone?
Yeah.
You said a really good impression. So outside of how the ad looks, again, I'm translating it online. What is the great impression,
Sure.
just from a high level overview, to make the person stand and buy you more time before they
sure.
scroll on?
The next thing is like, again, the most important thing when I'm selling people out there in the street, it's just like my eye contact.
That's it.
That's it. It's my eye contact, my smile, okay, whether I'm actually listening to that customer. The biggest difference between online, okay, and in person is we can tailor the product to them. Okay?
Yeah.
When
It's
you're
not a
online,
one-size-fits-all.
when you're online, you've created the advert and then you just release it and you're just relying on volume to sell.
It's not dynamic.
However, when you're in person, okay, for example, okay, let's just say I'm selling broadband, okay? a TV advert will come up, an online advert will come up. This is what our price is. This is how much cheaper we are in comparison to the market.
Yeah.
Somebody's really interested. They know that their broadband at home, their internet's terrible. They know they need to change.
Yeah.
However, they want to find out how long it's going to take for it to be installed, whether their internet's going to be shut off for X amount of time before it switches over to that internet.
Yeah.
They want to know how long that deal is actually that price for, X, Y, and Z. They have 3 or 4 different questions. However, if they see an internet advert or a TV advert, what would happen is, in order for them to get that answer, they would either have to go online and search for that answer, they would either have to email the provider, or they would have to call the provider.
Yeah.
And all of you guys, everyone here has called providers or emailed or searched online. Do you think the average person's attention span stretches that far anymore?
Barely.
No. The average person's attention span now, okay, in comparison to like the 80s, okay, when all of these adverts, these forms of adverts were created, back then it was like 6 minutes and 30 seconds, an average person's attention span. An average person's attention span now is 8 seconds.
Yeah.
So if you don't catch it within 8 seconds,
You're done for.
then it's gone.
Oh.
But in in-person sales, the moment that you get their attention, okay, and they buy into you, and then you explain what the product is, they might be really interested in the product. They might have already thought about changing,
Yeah.
but then they can actively ask the questions on the spot, which means we can tailor the product and answer the questions, which means that typically a customer that is generated from in-person sales, it's a much higher value customer for our clients that I work with. And the reason why we call them sticky customers is because these customers have actually walked in to that decision with all the information.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, they have a person that they've got a relationship with, okay, that they've bought into, which means every customer that we generate tends to stick around with our customers for a longer period of time.
And that's why they pay you the commission up front. Makes sense.
And that's why they pay a higher fee.
Yeah. Much more dynamic.
Yeah, it's like in the online space, you give value, you have a free community, you give a lead magnet, they have a good experience, and then you close it.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
But for us, indeed, it's oftentimes a one-size-fits-all, where you can adjust things on the spot. Speaking of that, how important is humor in like jokes, like making the person get their guard down, basically?
Yeah.
Do you use a lot of humor in a conversation, or is it strictly like?
Again, it's all tailored depending on the person.
Depends on the person. Yeah.
The way that I look at it, do you ever play Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the shield?
Yeah.
Call of Duty.
Yeah.
The way that I look at it, every single sales conversation that I have, when you do it in person, every single person has that shield initially, and it's like frosty. Okay, they can't even see you properly.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you smile, and it's like a beam of light. Okay, like sunlight, but they're like, it kind of blinds them, but they're like, what is it? Like, what is that at the end of the tunnel? Okay, and then they buy into it, and they lower the guard down. And the more that you can lower that guard down, officially once the guard's down, that's when you can start selling. Okay, you'll never be able to sell to a customer in person unless they like you.
No, I agree with that.
That's right.
They have to buy into you first.
Wow, you're the first product.
I mean, last year I had some like online like press, okay, some negative press, and I was looking for loads of different people to do personal branding with, and I actually had a lot of sales calls with different people doing personal branding that were selling me their personal branding service.
Yeah.
But then I spoke to Jerome for like an hour, and I was like, I've already bought into Jerome, and the reason why is because I was like, it's not just a service. I was like, I get along with him. I was like, he's Filipino as well. I was like, and then in my head, I was like, yeah, that's the right move.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's the person first. Now, I'm curious, you must have you've been doing this for a while, like, how long?
10 years.
10 years. So do you have some crazy story where you knocked on the door and it was just extraordinary?
Oh, man, I've had so many stories, man. Some of them
give me one that's
And videos as well.
You'll never forget that day.
One that I can never forget that day. So I remember I was training this dude actually, and I was trying to build his confidence. I was like, he wasn't the most confident guy. He's like, he'd never done sales before, but I could see potential. You know, I was like, I remember we did our first meeting in the morning, and he was like writing everything down. He was like asking questions. He wasn't confident, but he was still asking questions. And then we went out in the door, and we were knocking some doors, and I was like, okay, cool. So you've seen me do a couple. Have a couple conversations.
Yeah.
I was like, it's your turn now. Okay. And then he was like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So I knocked on the door. Okay. And then I was like, oh, I'm actually getting a phone call. So I put on my phone call. I was like, I pretended that I had a phone call.
Yeah.
I walked away. I didn't even see the customer coming out. And then I turned around and the guy froze. Okay. And then there was just a naked man, like literally head to toe, like 6'8" naked man. Okay, just literally there, and that was his first ever pitch.
The one time.
That was the one time he had to pitch, and the one time I let him go on his own, that was his first pitch.
He's actually butt naked.
Butt naked,
Everything
yeah,
up.
head to toe, yeah, head to toe, yeah.
So how was his reaction?
I mean,
Both of the guys.
he just froze. The customer didn't even think of anything of it. He just shut the door, and
Why
I was.
would you open the door like that? That's crazy.
Be ready for anything.
Yeah.
Always be closing.
Yeah.
ABC. I bet you would have closed it.
I would have probably told him to put some clothes on. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'll be like, hey man, I'm just selling broadband. I was like, there's been loads of complaints in the area about broadband. I was like, before I talk to you, go put some clothes on.
Yeah. That is funny. Alright, I have a good question. So, obviously right now you're transitioning online.
Sure.
Right? And you were shooting a video before this about why you love direct sales and that you're adding positive benefits to society because you're helping them save money and stuff like that. So, what do you think is the positive of transitioning into online? I'm curious. Because obviously you're still going to have the in-person.
Yeah.
You're just expanding your portfolio to now have it also online.
Yeah, sure. I think the positive about going online is it just opens up a lot of legs. Okay, so I have a mixed bag of different people in my team. Okay, and some are very, very, very talented. But the problem that I have right now is some of these people are great at sales. However, once you get good at sales, then where's the next stage? You know, like the only thing you can do is just either do more sales. But just like any job, once you do something enough, it becomes repetitive and monotonous and boring. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No matter how good you are at the job,
for sure.
once you do something enough times, it just becomes a job. Okay. So the reason why I'm opening up an online agency is so the people that don't want to lead a team or build teams, the people that don't want to some types of characters in sales are fit to do really well at sales and selling, but they may not be the best leaders. Just because you're great at sales doesn't mean you're a great leader. Does that make sense?
No.
So I'm using this other avenue to pivot some of my top sales guys. And once they've lost the love from in person, we transition them into a higher value skill, okay, which is a higher ticket, and the excitement comes again.
And they've already done the hard shit in person and they just translate that.
I promise you, if someone can do in-person sales, they'll kill it online.
Yeah. Because that's happened.
My girlfriend right now does she has a sales agency now. Okay, so she's now an online sales leader. So she mentors like 3 or 4 girls, and they're struggling at the moment because the client that she's working with are bringing on high ticket closers they've paid for high ticket courses, but have never done sales ever. Okay, this is their first job. Or they've had experience, but the most they've made monthly recurring revenue for their clients is like 25 grand. They've never done anything more than that.
No.
And they're coming in and she's training these people. But then I gave her someone that's worked with me in the past, and she's trained that person that's come from direct sales. It took them 2 days to train them.
Yeah.
But the reason why is the mentality from in-person sales, the type of person you have to become to be an A player in direct sales, in person sales.
Yeah.
If you pivot into any other industry, you kill it anyway.
1,000,000%. I agree.
You're set.
Yeah. Did you say you did door to door as well?
They,
I did as well, bro.
Yeah.
What were you doing? What were you selling?
It was like a charity type thing.
Oh yeah.
Where was that?
You know, I think 2010 or something.
Yeah. Where was it in the UK? Where was it?
No, it was in the Netherlands.
Really?
I just got dropped in an area. It's like, this is your hood. And I go knock on door. Hey, I'm from this charity.
Yeah.
Would you like to donate?
But that was the same way that I started.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, yeah.
That's it. And they could buy something, and yeah, I would get some. And here's the thing: I did. If they didn't want to buy these postal cards or something, I said, "Oh, do you want to kind of give something just because, right?
Yeah.
Just for a little." And then I get like €1 or €2. But after a while, I'd like an entire pouch. So, oh, that's it. It was charity work. I did it for a bit, but even in the rain, in the cold,
Yeah.
The hustle.
the
Yeah.
hustle.
Oh
But
wow.
Tell them about the golden bar.
the what?
The golden little golden bar that you mentioned in one of the long forms.
Oh, I did MLM, man. I did MLM.
Oh, MLM, boy, level one.
What's that?
Like ACN and stuff.
Yeah.
You know ACN? You
Yeah,
are.
so that was one of my first steps. So after I did this,
After you did door to door.
yeah, after I did door to door, and also got some people on door that were angry.
Yeah.
The moment they opened, they were just angry.
Yeah.
And I hated that. But it built character. Now I was just going to university or whatever, and there were some people involved in this company where you have to recruit 2 people,
Yeah.
and then they have to recruit 2 people. You know, it's a hustle. Coming from this door-to-door thing, I saw that, oh, I can make money in that area, right? I just have to kind of recruit people. I only had to find 2 people. That was the whole thing. Just find 2 people. I thought, oh, that's the easiest thing. Just find 2 people that are willing to invest in this company.
Yeah.
It's about gold. It's about saving your money in gold. Lo and behold, that was the hardest thing I ever had to do. Finding 2 people that were crazy enough to spend like $500 to invest in gold or something.
So how did you make money?
I didn't. So it took me into the road of, I want to learn how to get people's attention and
Yeah.
generate traffic. Because I understood if I can do that, I can take any product and put people in front of it.
Yeah.
And that was my entry to marketing. So even though I didn't make money with that, it opened up an amazing door because it got me interested in marketing in general. How can I take something and make someone interested in it?
Sure.
And yeah, but it all started with door to door as well, man. It's the roots.
Yeah.
I feel that's also kind of where everything spawns from nowadays online. It all in some way is connected to the old school door to door sales. But you don't hear it a lot anymore. I haven't met anyone that does it in the longest time, even though they still exist.
Yeah.
I haven't seen door to door in the long. I know it exists, but I just don't see him. Nobody knocks on my door.
Yeah, sure.
So what I wanted to know was, do companies still like actively are search, and how do they find the people? Do they put out an ad?
Yeah, sure.
How does that work?
So the more that I've gone into online, the more that people want me to continue to do door to door.
It's crazy, man.
And it's in the UK actually, the perception towards door to door. Some companies don't actually even respect it, but they need it.
Yeah.
They don't even respect it. When we were in broadband, because it's like tech companies, software companies, even though it was a service-based product, some of them didn't respect door to door, and they thought they would get more leads online.
Yeah.
And then they had a rude awakening when they realized that our channel was more profitable than any channel.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
You know, and I think they did a case study for charity donations actually in the UK. Okay, 70% of their funding, 70% of their donations come from in person.
From in person, of course. Yeah.
Before anything else.
I believe that. I'd rather give charity in person than just wire it online. The feeling is different as well.
There we go. Yeah.
I'd see that.
So, but in America, in the US market, they absolutely love door to door. They take them to like some of the door to door sales companies that I know in America, in the US market, they get taken out by their clients. Like all door to door sales reps get taken out to like Michelin star restaurants.
Oh shit. That's the lie.
And like resorts and stuff.
And to resorts, they get taught, they get treated like royalty because in America they value sales, you know, and they understand the hustle.
Yeah.
In the UK market, it's a little bit different. Okay.
They're more skeptical in the UK. Like in the US market, that's where we operate online. Everyone's more action takers, right?
Do that. Same in the Netherlands. Very skeptical. because of that negativity around it.
Yeah.
But do you feel age matters with door to door? Like, do you get when you're younger, they're like, you know what, I'll do them a favor, or if you're like an older grown man, they're like, nah, get the way out.
It's different in the UK market. Some of our older sales guys, they are actually the top performers sometimes.
Oh, really?
And the reason why is because they can relate to the customers they're speaking to. If you're selling gas and electricity and you have a kid, okay,
Yeah,
and you speak to somebody
yeah,
and they have a kid, and you're like, hey, look, the reason why you should switch to this is because I know what it's like to have a kid. It's pretty expensive nowadays, isn't it?
Wow.
And they're like,
That's
yeah,
great.
just be like, this is my daughter, blah, blah.
Yeah, on the box screen.
you
Do you know
can
what I mean?
relate on different points.
Yeah. And you can really build a rapport in that way. Okay.
And how about the younger kids that don't have any, how do you say that, touch points basically with the clients?
Their work ethic is their only winner. Or they can use nieces and nephews, brothers and sisters, exact same way.
Interesting. Have you also done not B2C door to door, but B2B?
I've done that as well.
Do you feel one over the other is better or more difficult?
I think there's pros and cons in everything, man. Okay, B2C is volume based, okay, which means you can speak to, there's a limited amount of doors you can speak to. Okay, B2B, okay, if you don't work your area properly, you could burn through opportunities.
True.
So you have to make sure that you're on B2B, you have to just manage your area a lot better.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have to make sure that you make every conversation count. Whereas on B2C, if you mess it up once,
On to the next.
you've got another
on to
customer.
the next.
But on B2B, if you mess it up once, that's like a
You're
huge
not welcome.
that's a huge part of your territory, which means that you can't go back there for
Yeah.
another 6 months. You've lost that opportunity for 6 months.
Yeah, that's so true. So let's go a little bit deeper into those. Let's start with B2B. You go into a barista or whatsoever. What's the first thing you ask? Is the manager around or the decision maker? Like, first you just have a person that's on payroll behind. They're expecting you to order a coffee.
Sure.
So how does that whole dynamic go? What happens?
Yeah, but you get that person to buy into you, just like anything. You get time for more people buying into you.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I walk into a coffee shop, I'm just like, hey, really sorry to disturb you. My name is Roll. As you can see, I'm with X company. We've just been speaking to all of the businesses in the area. I'm sure you've heard of blah blah. And if they're like, if you can gauge, they're like no, or they gauge if you can gauge that they've heard of them before, it's an easy way through.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
If they've never heard of it before, just be like, that's perfect. That's exactly the reason why I'm here.
You get more time.
Exactly. And then I say to them before I start though, are you the boss?
Yeah.
Okay. And then they're like, no, this is the boss. Sometimes they are the boss.
Yeah.
Okay. And they'll tell you they're not the boss.
Yeah.
Okay. But then that's when you dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
And then you just ask them questions that only a business owner would know.
Yeah.
And just be like, yeah, so like how long have you guys how long have you guys been set up here? Just be like, what made you want to open up in this location?
Yeah.
Okay, the average person that works in that business wouldn't have a
They
clue.
wouldn't know that.
But if they're like, oh, the reason why we opened up is because of this, and this, you just be like, and then you start to realize, okay, you know more than you should know.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're the boss.
And just be like, yeah, I'm really interested in setting something up like this myself. Obviously, I'm not going to set up next to you. Okay, whatever it is, just to build up a relationship.
Yeah.
Just be like, however, if I did, like, how much would it cost? Blah, blah, blah. If they know those little details that an average person wouldn't, that works for their business, then you know to carry on the conversation with that person.
It's like Trojan horse method.
Yeah. Yeah. You filter them out. You're qualifying them on the spot. Do you intentionally pick out times where, obviously, they got maybe clients or customers to serve?
Totally, yeah.
Do you think about, like, this is when I could come in?
Yeah. So cafes, you'll be able to speak to. They'll be open in the morning.
Yeah.
However, they'll be too busy in the morning and lunchtime.
Yeah.
So you speak to them in the afternoon.
So you go around that.
Okay. If you're speaking to restaurants, they're going to be busy from lunchtime to the evening. So you can speak to them in the morning.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Bars, exactly the same thing. Okay. Office blocks. I remember I got kicked out of L'Oreal's headquarters in Park Lane.
Damn.
Okay. I remember there was one time I was selling it was a product. It was a coupons card, and it basically gave people discount in supermarkets, in restaurants,
That's nice.
and I was selling that B2B.
Yeah.
So I was going into businesses and I
Yeah.
was pitching HR decision makers
Yeah.
to get that product
Yeah.
in their office space to give to their
So
employees.
you really have an entire.
Yeah, most people B2B, they were trying to sell it to small cafes and stuff like that, and get their bosses to invest into it.
Yeah.
But I was like, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to pitch it anyway,
Yeah.
then I might as well pitch it to a higher ticket
Yeah.
and speak to. If I'm going to speak to a decision maker and they had 50 employees, it's going to be different to someone who had 2 employees. So instead of me making like I don't know £30, okay, or £40, I'll
Yeah.
make £400. It'd be the same work, it'd be the same pitch, but it's just more volume. So I remember, I tried to sneak into the L'Oreal headquarters in Park Lane,
Yeah.
and I knew that there was some sales reps pitching makeup out in their lobby.
Yeah.
So I started building a relationship with them, like pretended like I knew them.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I said to the security man, the security man thought that I was working with those people.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, can I just go to the toilet real quick? And I went in with my briefcase, got into the lift, and I just pressed every floor.
Yeah.
Okay, obviously the top floor I couldn't get into, the third one down I couldn't get to, and I just kept on clicking. I think it was the 4th floor that I can get into.
Yeah.
I went to the top one, and people were having meetings in this boardroom.
Oh,
and I was
shit.
like, hey guys, really sorry to disturb you. Just been sent by L'Oreal just to speak to you guys.
Oh shit.
And then I was pitching cold to people there in their meetings. And I think I got the engagement from a couple of them, got some contact details.
Yeah.
I went to one office space. I think I sold 13 of them in one go.
Oh shit.
And then I went down the next floor. Security men found me, picked me up, chucked me out the exit.
That takes confidence,
Yeah.
man. That takes
Yeah.
confidence.
That's crazy.
But in my head, I was like, at the end of the day, I was like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen?
Yeah.
I was like, I get kicked out. Like, what?
That's it.
Do you know what I mean?
Make some sales.
That's it. And I made some sales. And then also in my head, I was like, if I don't make any sales, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to like a train station that's like high foot flow.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to stop people in person because I had that skill anyway. And I was like, and I'll do 20 of those sales after the end of the day anyway. From 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, I'll hit 20 sales after. So
When was this?
this was when I opened up my first company. It didn't go well. And then I was getting a client B2B. And I was trying to get them as a client B2B. And then I was like, I'll come down to London for a month and sell your product, and I'll show you how I do it, how I roll. And then I was down in London for a month, and I killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I
good
didn't even know that
because
story.
you're demonstrating your value right off the bat, so they have no choice but to kind of work with you moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I brought it back to my company up north in Sheffield, and I was doing like 14 sales a day, so I was killing it.
Yeah.
But I couldn't train anyone to do it. Like the system wasn't as oiled up, squeaky clean, and even though I could sell, my whole business model is me learn the sales process so well so I can teach it. But because not everybody has the balls to go into L'Oreal headquarters and pitch a random product, do they?
I wouldn't do that.
Does that make sense? Like it was just like not everybody has that balls, and I just didn't care. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I always saw positive in everything. But yeah, I think when I brought it up north, it didn't work as well, and the reason why is because not everybody had the balls to do it as hard as them.
Do you feel you need to be extroverted for this type of stuff?
I wouldn't say that I'm an extrovert though. You know, I would say that I'm I like my own time. When I go to the gym, or the reason why I love running, okay, is because I'm just like it's just me. I don't even listen to music.
No.
I don't listen to music.
It's all you.
I don't even listen to podcasts. I'm just like thinking. Like sometimes when I'm doing a long drive, I used to listen to podcasts and music all the
Yeah.
time. When I do a long drive, sometimes I don't even listen to anything.
Yeah, it's
I'm
good.
just like plugging in. But I can perform in situations where I'm under pressure.
Yeah.
So
You're saying you don't necessarily have to be extroverted, since you feel you're not, but it is important to be able to tap into that.
yeah, it's important to be able to be a type of person to be in a situation where You are in a high pressure environment,
Mhm.
but you can still react.
And that's something you need to have just naturally. You can't teach that.
It's harder to teach.
It's hard.
It's harder to teach. That's why I always tell people to start on door to door first, because you learn that wit on door to door.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to naturally do that straight off the bat with no sales experience.
No,
But in door to door sales, you learn that skill within your first month.
takes time. Yeah. What would you say when you see like a person completely raw? Like you said, you had that guy. He had no experience, but you saw potential.
Yeah.
What can you pick someone and say, yeah, that would be a great salesperson?
Yeah.
What are the traits that you can quickly identify?
Sure. It's so crazy, man. I've got to a point in my career where I can walk into a room and I could speak to someone, okay, or we have a recruitment day and I look in the room and I can tell and I can see and visualize exactly where that person's going to be,
Yeah.
okay, even before they've even spoken.
Wow.
Just by the way they come in.
Just from the way that they come across and their mannerisms,
The
demeanor, the way they're like, the way they sometimes shake your hand, you know, all of these things I can, just because I've seen so many patterns of human behavior
Yeah.
and I've seen so many people that have become successful
Yeah.
in this space,
Yeah.
I can already see what they're going to be like before they even know themselves.
Yeah.
It's really weird, man. So I think there's some very cliche stuff that you can say. It's like, I don't know, they sound good, they're really confident, okay, but most of the time it's just how they handle tough situations. You know, like if you put pressure on someone, how do they react? Do they?
Define pressure. Is it like meeting sales quota, rejections?
One of the things that we do, so we have an interview day before we offer anyone a position. Okay, we get them to speak in front of 30 random people. Okay, and they have to tell us everything that they learn about the person next to them.
Oh, okay.
So
It's on the
most,
spot.
yeah. So it's not they don't have to sell us,
No.
no, themselves.
No.
Okay, but they have to tell us everything that you've learned about the person next to them.
Gotcha.
So as soon as people walk in to our interview day, they're all sat next to each other,
Yeah.
and then I'm watching how they're interacting
Yeah.
with each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just observing them. I'm looking at them. I'm like gauging.
Yeah.
Are they even talking to anyone?
Yeah.
Are they smiling? Have they made a good impression? Do they make that person feel good?
Yeah.
That person's quite nervous. Have they clocked that that person's nervous?
Yeah.
Have they eased them in? Have they comforted that person? Those are certain traits that I'm looking for. I'm like, okay, that person has a trait to be a sales leader. That person's just quite selfish. He's talking about himself. He could do well at sales, or does he not have can he listen to somebody?
Yeah.
Okay, even though he can talk, can he listen?
Yeah.
If he can't listen, then he can't do sales. Does that make sense? All of these things I'm looking at, okay, and I'm reading all of these things
Yeah.
before I've even spoken to anyone.
Yeah.
Okay, and then after that, I'll be like, okay, guys, okay, one of the first tasks today, all you need to do is just tell us everything that you learned about the person on your left.
Sweet.
And then they'll stand up, and then the person will stand up, and they'll be like, yeah, this person, like, they've got 3 brothers, blah blah. Do you mean? And then they'll tell us everything,
I love it, man. They have no idea that every move is kind of being watched.
being assessed. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a good way to see how people
Yeah.
act and how they would progress throughout your company.
People will always act a certain way when they when they're in front of you. Okay, but it's what they do when they're not around you
Can do.
is what's the most important.
Yeah.
Like, and everyone says that, right? What you do when somebody's watching, okay, is what you do when you're alone. That's the person that you are.
Yeah.
Okay, so I try and read and I try and gauge people before they've even spoken to me.
Yeah. I love it, man. That's good shit. It makes me think a lot about how to influence and influence people. A lot of these little things. Do you feel that's a must-read book when it comes to stuff like that?
That's an ultimate book that I read.
The ultimate book?
That I advise everyone to read.
Yeah, I'd reckon.
You know that book is the first book that I ever read when I got into sales,
Yeah.
and I read it chapter by chapter,
Yeah.
and I practiced everything
All the principles.
every week.
Yeah.
So whatever principle it had in the book, I was like, that's my focus for the week. That's the principle that I'm going to focus this week.
Yeah. It's such a great.
I need to read Dale Carnegie, but like,
Yeah.
I know the principles.
Yeah.
I've studied it,
No.
but I definitely need to give it an actual read.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's the principles are very basic, very obvious,
Yeah.
but you become more aware of them, like using a person's name, active listening. It's so good. It's also one of the first books I've read, really, that I'm like, wow, people really most of the time think about themselves.
Sure.
If you can make them feel good in that manner, make it more about them than it is about you, you can make a lot of things happen.
Yeah.
It's such a
Definitely.
great book.
It's amazing.
And it's true throughout everything, both online, offline. It works that way. Is there any other course, book, video that you recommend people to watch?
With regards to like sales mentality, Jim Rohn, How to Have the Best Year of Your Life. It's a 4-hour video, old school.
Yeah.
It came out in like the 80s, but honestly, the philosophy, okay, the way that he thinks about life and business and people is so invaluable.
Good. Yeah.
Another one is a book called Leadership by Anthony Joe.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that book is
Give
unbelievable.
me one thing that out of that book just stood out.
It was more how to actually manage your time. I think the biggest problem with a lot of leaders is they get into a position of leadership and they get flustered and they're trying to do a lot. They want to do well. They want to serve people well.
Yeah.
They want to they want to perform at a high level and everything. However, it's about understanding your strengths, right? And one of the biggest lessons that I took from that book is the people that excel the most in any industry are the people that hone into their strengths and just focus all their energy on the things they're good at. And whatever you're not good at, you can outsource to somebody else and delegate to someone else to complement your strengths. As long as the goal and the vision is headed towards the right way,
Yeah.
and you're doing what you know that you're the best at, everything else works.
Yeah.
Sure, man. It took me way too long to figure that out as well. One man army, you feel like you're giving up margins, you feel like I can do better. You're faster on your own, but it's so not true. Like focusing on your zone of genius, what you're good at, it's one of the most valuable lessons. You'll grow that much faster.
Exactly.
You have to give up margin to make a whole lot more.
No, totally.
Yeah.
It's, would you rather have a whole grape or would you rather have a slice of a watermelon?
No.
You know,
Yeah.
like some people, it's ego driven. People just want to have the whole thing of something,
Yeah.
even if it's so small.
Yeah.
You know, but I would rather have a slice of a
Of course,
watermelon
yeah,
than a
yeah.
grape, because you have, even though it's a slice, but it's a
It's a
much
lot
bigger
more,
slice.
yeah. That's the thing. I think that narrative should be pushed more. Like as fast as you can, identify the things you're good at, but all the things you're not good at, find someone, partner with someone.
Who not how?
Yeah, who knows how? Indeed. I love it, man.
Yeah. I mean, just to wrap up, I have one final question. If you had to give yourself, your younger version of yourself, a piece of advice, what would that be? Like someone that's wanting to succeed, they want to make money, but they just don't know what vehicle to go down into.
Sure. Again, the one thing that I've kind of noticed in the last 2 years is there is more vehicles and opportunities to learn now than ever.
For sure.
Do you not think?
Yeah.
No, there's opportunities everywhere all the time,
Yeah.
and there's so many shiny distractions all the time.
That's the thing.
However, if you're excited about one thing, if you see something, whatever it is, okay, sales, door to door, drop shipping, everything. If you are genuinely interested and you think that that is a good opportunity for you to grow, then do it, but don't quit in the first hurdle. You know, don't the only reason why I believe so many people are so valuable that come from an in-person direct sales environment is because they learn the first, second, and third chapter of direct sales. Once you've learned the first, second, and third chapter of direct sales, okay, you can become valuable in any market.
Yeah.
So what's the first chapter? The first chapter is people skills and understanding people.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's it. So people skills, understanding people. The second chapter is understanding systems and processes. Okay, and the third chapter is understanding to control the controllables. Okay, those are the three things that you definitely fucking learn in direct sales.
Yeah.
I promise you. That's the one thing that we preach all the time. Just focus on the things that you can control.
Yeah.
Don't moan and focus on things that you can't control. Okay? Systems and processes are the first thing that you can rely on when everything's going wrong for you.
Yeah.
Okay? And understanding people and understanding how to communicate with people, okay, will give you time. Okay? That's, if you can learn those three things, then you can make it in it. But I'm not an expert in dropshipping. I'm not an expert in the online world. But I'm sure if you can learn at least the first 2-3 chapters of what dropshipping is, okay, it will give you value in any other opportunity you go into next. But the problem with a lot of people is they get excited, they start it, they go through the first hurdle, they don't make it, they try and find another shiny new opportunity comes along.
You're stuck at ground zero.
They never ever get past the first 3 chapters, and they never amount to anything, and they end up just in a 9-to-5 job unfulfilled. You know?
I want to challenge that idea if you don't mind, because I watch a lot of Shark Tank.
Yeah.
You guys call it Dragon's Den.
Yeah.
And sometimes the entrepreneur comes on the show and Mr. Wonderful, one of my favorite sharks, he's just very straightforward. He's like, stop this.
Yeah.
This is shoot.
Yeah.
Shoot it. It's not good.
Yeah.
So obviously there should be a point where you're realistic and like admit to, or maybe this is not it. Maybe this is not the vehicle. So
Yeah.
on the other hand, you have the narrative of never give up, don't
Yeah.
quit. So
Yeah.
where do you find that point where, you know what, I need to stop this?
But I'm not saying don't give up. I'm not saying don't quit. I'm not saying stick until the end. I'm saying get something out of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a promotion.
No.
It doesn't have to be in direct sales, we say like to progress into a management or a director standpoint or to be a team leader. It doesn't have to be that. However, if you're going to start something, there was something about that business model, there was something about that strategy, there was something about that opportunity that you were excited about.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the end goal.
No.
What was it? If it was drop shipping, it was like understanding how to even like store your products.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you give up because you don't know how to store your products the right way, okay, and you never figure out that skill,
Nothing out of it.
then you get nothing out of it.
No.
Does that make sense? Or how to like create ads, okay, or how to template your emails the right way to keep the customers happy.
Yeah.
And if you're giving up on those things that and that's the skills that you need, then you'll never move forward, man.
That way it makes sense, right? At least get something in return, or else it's all in vain.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the end goal.
No.
It doesn't have to be the destination.
No.
However, as long as it's improving your processes, okay, or your formula to eventually produce success somewhere else, then that's all you need, man.
I think it's important because a lot of people are like, oh, if you give up, you're a quitter. But there are different variations of that. And you can give up and still have gained a lot. You can still win in your own way.
You need to know when you can cut your losses.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think enough people are saying that. It's not for
Totally.
you, it's not for you, but you may progress in any other way to use that skill for someone.
Sure.
Strengths. So you asked one last question. I want to ask one last question. So it's going to be a little bit more selfish. I'm in the online space. He's in the online space.
Yeah.
From your perspective, being outside the online space, what would you say you've seen maybe the guys online do that you would suggest them from your door-to-door experience to add into whatever they're doing online?
Yeah, sure. So whatever team they have, okay, the one thing that I've seen from the online space, and I used to hear this all the time, okay, listening to like all the online gurus, and it was like, you're on your way to success, okay, it's going to be a lonely place, okay, and it definitely can be, you know, like I wouldn't say that I haven't felt lonely in my journey to the next stage.
No.
However, the problem in the online space is some people just get sheltered into their cave, okay, into their room, but they stop leaving and they're only speaking to people online or on the phone or on an email, and they're losing that human interaction.
Yeah.
I think if you just bring people together once a quarter, it doesn't have to be every day, it doesn't have to be every week, but once a quarter, bring every single person together, everyone on your team, get them together and just reset a quarterly goal of where you want to take your business. I think it will massively improve your performance.
Interesting. So try more in-person stuff. It
Yeah.
will boost morale. It will
Definitely.
interesting. I think we might, like Daniel G or something.
Yeah, Daniel G. Yeah,
He's been popping up lately on my feed, but that's one of his core things, like doing all this stuff in person. He travels a lot. He says there's a lot of strength in shaking someone's hand in real life.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. And even though these are things like we know, it's important that someone takes our awareness back to, meet up with people.
It's just planning it as well.
Yeah.
People are busy. You know?
That's
The reason why I guess the online route is just super leveraged is because you can just connect with someone and just chat to them whenever you want.
Yeah.
However, if you plan around it and prioritize these things, then it makes a difference.
And it also looks good for the outside world to see that you really run a tight ship.
Yeah.
If you document it, that's where you come in.
Yeah.
Document it, roll it. Love it, man.
That's
Good
been
shit.
really insightful.
Good shit.
Good
Good
questions.
shit,
really.
man. Yeah, man.
Cool.
Appreciate you, man. I learned a lot.
Yeah, bro.
Thanks, man.
Good job, man.
Yes, sir. Good job. Good job.